I'm Steve Dangle, and you're listening to Stick to the Pod.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Stick to the Pod. Yep, episode 20, and it's Cup Final week. Well, first of all, going to get into last weekend's action, where if you were listening to last week's episode 19, I was telling you what a great weekend of hockey it was going to be, and how fantastic the matchups were on Sunday, and they did not disappoint. Well, first of all, straight into Saturday, just the two fixtures, and probably one of the shocks of the season. Well, yes and no, not a shock, but yes, a shock to a point where if you look at the league standings. First of all, we'll head over to Sheffield, where the Scimitars play the D-side Dragons. The Dragons running out 13-5 winners over the Sheffield Scimitars. So the Dragons played quite well the previous week against the Stars. I wouldn't say they were a bit unlucky to not come away with anything, because they just died off fitness, maybe, I don't know, costing them, especially in the third period. They ran out of legs, but they took that confidence of how well they played into Ice Sheffield last weekend and got themselves a 13-5 victory. Goal scorers were spread quite well. Parsons getting 2, Parry getting 2, Shaw on the score sheet, Ross Kennedy getting 2, big player for them. Brody Jessens is having a good season for them after stepping down from the Telford Tigers. He gets a hat-trick. Valyasak, probably been a bit of a disappointment for me. He was fantastic in Blackburn, and I don't think he's reached those heights. Whether it's an age thing, I don't know. I'd have to have a look to see if he's quite old or not. But he does seem to be dwindling off a bit, where at times at Blackburn he used to be unplayable. I don't think D-side have got that from Peter Valusiak while he's been a D-side Dragon. And Joe Greaves getting 2 also on the score sheet. For the young Sheffield side, Nixon and Danico both getting 2 each, and Fraley on the score sheet. As in terms of result, it's probably a bit bigger than I would have expected it to be. Sheffield, you'd thought they were turning the corner. They got some good victories, some big results. It wasn't that long ago when they beat the Barons. They just couldn't, for whatever reason it just didn't happen for them last Saturday. The D-side Dragons ran over them quite comfortably, 13-5. And then we move into Hull. Hull, as we know, got a fantastic home record. They've got 11-2-1 at home. So it's always a tough place to go, is Hull. But with the Barons in second, chasing down the Stars, and knowing that they had the Stars to play on the Sunday as well. Whether they took Hull a bit too lightly, I don't know. But they come out on the wrong end of a 4-1 victory for the Hull Jets. And that was a bit of a shock to me. I mean, results-wise, yeah, you can go to Hull and lose. Stars have done that. They've been there. Lost opening night. Only threw a 2-goal lead away in the Cup semi-final first leg, without really being in danger in the little 2-goal lead. But it just didn't happen for the Barons on Saturday, losing out, like I said, 4-1. Your usual goal scorers for Hull Jets. It's not like these guys are a surprise package. I know it's the first year in the division, but they've got Hagger, Beach, Kent, and Dainton. I know Dainton hasn't played much Division 1 hockey, but the other 3 very well-known hockey players. Hagger and Beach have been around Division 1 for a long time as well at other clubs. So we know how good this Hull team is. Like I say, everyone gives them it's their first year. But let's just look at that roster. It's a very good roster. So you cannot take this team lightly. They will cause shocks. I mean, like I said, the home record speaks for itself. 11-2-1. But the 3-9-0 is terrible for the Hull Jets, and it's why they lay 6th in the division. That Hull away record just isn't good enough. So yeah, 4-1 victory for the Hull Jets over the Solihull Barons. And that obviously then think, well, the league title's probably over then from that point of view for the Barons. But who knows what can happen on Sunday. So let's move into Sunday. I was telling you in the last episode, these are some great fixtures here. D-side versus Hull, Solihull versus the Stars, Whitley versus Hawks. We know what them two teams are like when they get together, especially at Hillheads. And even Widnes and the Nottingham Lions. So we're going to start straight up back with the D-side Dragons after the impressive 13-5 victory on the Saturday. A much closer affair on the Sunday night with the Hull Jets. Again, they continue that miserable form away from home, losing out 4-2 to the D-side Dragons. Again, your usual goal scorers there for D-side. Kennedy getting 2. Jones this time on the score sheet, and then Vlusiak getting his second goal of the weekend, and then Morris and Kent for the Hull Jets. So yeah, a 4-2 win for D-side. Is he going to do much in the league standings? Well, yeah, I think it could do. We'll have a look at the league table once we go through this, and we'll see who's done what and what's what and who's where. But into the next fixture, we're going to go into Widnes, Planet Ice Widnes. Widnes had been, again, another team who'd started improving, started to become a bit of a bogey side for teams. For whatever reason, it just didn't happen for them last weekend. It did appear that they were short on bodies. They went in the M56 Cup. It was 9-0 to the Hawks on the Saturday, only carrying, 12, 13 players. The usual netminders not there, either Harrison or Luca Tasadri. So always going to be an uphill struggle. But on the Sunday, at home to the Nottingham Lions, you probably fully expected a Widnes Wild victory. But it's the Lions who take a 5-2 win away from home, probably cementing that 8th and final playoff spot, and it also dragged them a little closer to the Widnes Wild, where I had been saying for weeks the Widnes Wild are safe in 7th, they're probably not going to catch 6th, and they probably shouldn't be caught by 8th, but now only 5 points behind. The Lions goal scorers, as you'd expect to see, Yokoyama is on that goal scoring sheet. Martha, Martin, Somerton and Birchnell all make up the Lions' 5 goal scorers, and then there's Harper and Massey for the Widnes Wild. So yeah, a 5-2 victory, an impressive 5-2 victory for the Nottingham Lions. And then what should have been the game of the season up in Solihull at Hobbs Moat Road. You'd expect the top 2 both have very good top lines. Stars obviously have the scoring depth. That's been a difference with them and everybody else this year. But unfortunately, the run does come to an end. 22 games, I think it was. It got 22 games in a row, league victories, and they lose out 7-3 to the Solihull Barons. Now, you look at that score line and you think, wow, it's a blowout. But it was far from an absolute blowout. I mean, a lot of you have probably read social media after last Sunday. It was a shit show from a certain individual. We're not going to go into details. I'm not going to talk about him. It is what it is. You know what you get when you go to Solihull. It's a tough place to go as it is. But obviously with the middle man in the middle being who he was, it was always going to be a much tougher game. And like I say, it was 4-3 in the third period. One major incident didn't go the way it should have went, which would have put the Stars on a 5-on-3 power play with 6 or 7 minutes left in the game. Stars didn't get the penalty to put them on a 5-on-3. The Barons go 2-0, make it 5-3, and then just absolute weirdness of penalties coming in. I mean, the penalties were 20 penalty minutes to 8, and it's probably the worst the Stars have been this year. So that tells you a story in itself. Don't get me wrong. You give this Solihull team just a sniff, and that top line will punish you. It has done all season long. You just got to look the amount of power play goals that Otterson and Crowe have scored. I mean, Crowe's most of his goals have come from the power play. That you give that top line just a man advantage, and they will punish you. And they did that all night. Phil Mulcahy, a hat trick. Otterson on the score sheet, and also 4 assists, I believe. Crowe, White, Anderton also on the score sheet for the Barons. I mean, as I mentioned, they got a short-handed goal. I think it was 4 or 5 power play goals. So it just shows you the state of the game. Like I say, when you look at the game sheet, you see the penalty minutes. If you saw the major incident that happened in the third period, the call that was not made, I mean, you'd understand why a lot of commotion was made after the game on Sunday. But it is what it is. You've got to go to these places. These places are tough. Stars didn't play bad at all. Like I say, it was a 4-3 game. I mean, they were 1-0 up, 2-1 down, 3-2 up. It was a good, close game. And then, like I say, it all changed on one incident. And then the penalty minutes got stupid as well, as I mentioned earlier. And it came out and became a 7-3 victory for the Barons. His goal scorers for the Stars, I think it was Ian Brown and Mike Hilder getting 2. But like I say, it was a fantastic game. It was a 4-3. It was a one goal game. At that point, like I say, I was there. I was in attendance. I was happy for the Stars to even just get it back to 4-4, get into overtime, get that point. Just get a point in Solihull is a good result. You've got to remember they have only lost one game at home this year in the league at the Barons, and even then they actually won that game, but got it taken off them for playing an ineligible player. The Hawks beat them in the semi-final of the Cup quite comfortably, but obviously Barons were missing so many players. Hawks took full advantage of that, and rightly so. So yeah, the Stars' winning streak did come to an end. It's probably not going to cost them in the long run. They are quite safe at the top of the division. 4 points still, two games in hand, and probably a couple of gimme fixtures. But we'll see. You just never know what can happen in this sport. And then we go to the final game of the weekend. As I mentioned, things happen at the Hillheads between these two teams. I had a good chat with Matty on this during the game, and he was messaging me, keeping me updated as to what was going on. And he just said it was an absolutely fantastic game. Hawks probably slightly the better team, creating the chances. Warriors didn't create that many clear-cut chances, yet they were always in the game, which is what you want to see as fans. You want to see end-to-end, one-goal games. Like I said, the Hawks did run out 4-3 victors in the end. Your weekly goal scorers being Kippen, Harley and Edgar. Edgar on the score sheet again, starting to get warmed up. And your Hawks goal scorers, Watson, Jurinox, Pollard and Bobby Streetley, who we know obviously had that fight with Kippen in the last game and got dropped. Came back and bit the Warriors on the backside with a winner with 14 seconds left in the game, I believe it was. So a dagger to the heart to the Warriors and a 4-3 victory to the Hawks. So obviously heading into cup final weekend, full of beans, full of confidence. Obviously I had the confidence of winning the M56 Cup on the Saturday last weekend, and then going into Whitley Bay, having a tough gritty game, coming out winners. They'll be going into, for me, favourites this weekend. Like I say, they're the form team. The Stars have now lost that run and lost that momentum. It'll be interesting to see how they come back and how they bounce back from that loss, but it'll certainly be interesting, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll just quickly run through the weekend's results and fixtures of the 17th and 18th. So on the Saturday we had Hull versus Solihull. Hull coming out 4-1 victors over the Barons. The Sheffield Scimitars on home ice lose out to the Deeside Dragons 13-5. Moving into Sunday, the Dragons on home ice beat the Hull Jets 4-2. In Hobbs Moat Road, Solihull, they come out 7-3 victors over the Billingham Stars. And the Whitley Warriors lose out to the Blackburn Hawks 4-3 with just seconds left in the game. And the Nottingham Lions get an impressive 5-2 win on the road against the Widnes Wild. So let's just take us to the league tables now. Straight into it. At the top, still, even after that loss, they carry a 4-point lead at the top of the table. Just the 26 games played, 22 wins, 4 losses, 44 points, and a very impressive home record and the best away record in the division. Sees the Stars at the top of the league. Second place, the Solihull Barons, even after Sunday's impressive victory over the Stars, they remain in second. Played 2 games more with 28 games played, 20 wins, 8 losses, 40 points. An impressive home record as well, 13 games won, 1 lost. But it's that away record that is as bad as it, pretty much the middle section of the table. 7 wins and 7 losses away from home for the Solihull Barons. In third place, it's the impressive and the hot streak Blackburn Hawks. Played 2 games less than the Barons, 26 games played, 17 wins, 9 losses for 34 points. 8-5 at the home and 9-4 away from home. So they'll still have one eye on catching the Barons. It is only 6 points. They do have games in hand, so they will need results from other teams to help them out. And I also believe they've got each other left to play as well. So that could be quite an interesting one at the end of the season. The fourth place, the Deeside Dragons, a 4-point weekend for them. 28 games played, 16 wins, 11 losses, an overtime loss for 33 points, a 9-5 record at home, and 7-6-1 away from home. So a point behind the Hawks, but played them 2 games more. So you could say quite unlikely that they catch the Blackburn Hawks. In fifth place, it's the Whitley Warriors with 27 games played, 14 wins, 12 losses, an overtime loss for 29 points, 9-5 at home, 5-7-1 on the road. And being 4 points behind the Dragons, with only a game in hand, I would be inclined to say the Whitley Warriors aren't catching the Dragons with the few games that are left, which we'll talk through in a minute as well, because I think that's quite important now. In sixth place, and still have high hopes of maybe catching the Whitley Warriors in 5th. It's the Jets with 26 games played, one less than the Warriors. 14 wins, 11 losses, an overtime loss, also for 29 points. 11-2-1 at home. That is impressive from the Hull Jets. That's up there with the Barons and the Stars for home form, but it's that 3-9-0 record away from home that has got them down in the mid-table. Do have a game in hand, however, on the Warriors. They win that game in hand, they will leapfrog the Whitley Warriors, and that has big changes in the playoffs. So it's certainly worth keeping an eye on. In 7th place, we did say this has probably been confirmed now for quite a few weeks. It has got a little bit sketchy for the Widnes Wild. 27 games played, 9 wins, 17 losses. The one overtime loss for 19 points. 4-9-0 at home. It's just not good enough, is it? 4 wins at home. 5-8-1 away from home. And they're not catching 6th place. That's 10 points. They ain't getting 10 points. I don't think they can get 10 points with the amount of games. Oh, they can. They've got 5 games left. So they can get 10 points. But you'd fully expect the Warriors and the Jets to at least get 1 more win each. In 8th place, after an impressive victory at Widnes, also 27 games played, 5 wins, 18 losses, 4 overtime losses. So there's 4 occasions there where an extra point could have done them, well, the extra point gets them 1 point behind Widnes Wild. So there's 4 occasions they've lost in overtime for 14 points. 2-10-2 at home, 3-8-2 away from home. And as I say, they are 5 points behind the Widnes Wild. Same games played. So they would need 1 or 2 results to go their way, I would expect. The Lions probably do have to win their remaining 5 fixtures to have a chance of catching the Widnes Wild in 7th, but it is doable. And then at the bottom, after the heavy defeat on Saturday, to D-side Dragons, they are the Sheffield Scimitars in 9th place, 27 games played, 4 wins, 20 losses. Also for them, 3 overtime losses, games that could have went the opposite way in their favour, but unfortunately didn't. 11 points for the Scimitars, and although the gap is only 3 points, I think that might be a bit much for the Scimitars to overcome, but we'll certainly see. We'll see out with them two who really wants that last playoff spot. We'll see how desperate the Hawks are to catch the Barons in second. Like I say, these have huge playoff implications, which we're going to have a look at now. So if your playoff started this weekend, you would have your Billingham Stars versus the Nottingham Lions. The Solihull Barons would go up against the Widnes Wild. Blackburn Hawks would play the Hull Jets. And the D-side Dragons and the Whitley Warriors would be your final matchup. So some great matchups there. I mean, the Barons and Wild, if Widnes can find some form, you just don't know what could happen in that game. Especially at Widnes, we know the Barons don't travel too well. Blackburn Hawks and the Hull Jets. The Hawks seem to have the number of the Jets this year. But like I say, it is always tough going to Hull. And they can turn it up at that home on that home ice. They can make it very, very difficult for teams. And then obviously the standout fixture would be the Dragons and the Warriors. But like I say, a lot can change between now and the end of the season. Like I say, the Barons have only got 4 games remaining of a maximum 48 points. They do have the Warriors and the Stars and the Hawks to play in them last 4 games, I believe. I need to take a look into that. Because that is an absolute stinker of an end to a season for the Barons, who obviously are trying to chase the Stars down, who I just think are just to say enough home and dry for the first league title since the Stars' first year in Billingham. So yeah, a long time in coming. The Hawks have got 6 games remaining, the Dragons just the 4 games remaining, Whitley 5 games remaining, and 6 games remaining for the Hull Jets, and then Widnes, Nottingham and Sheffield have also got 5 games remaining. So like I said, the Barons can only get a maximum of 48 points. The maximum the Hawks can get is 46 points, so they will need Barons to drop points somewhere. And like I say, with those last 4 games, 3 of them being very, very tough games, we'll see how that goes for the Barons. D-side, I don't think they're catching the Hawks, if I'm being honest. I think those 2 games in hand, I know there's only a point difference, but the 2 games in hand will be a difference for the Hawks. So yeah, that just about covers the league table. So this weekend's fixtures for I would normally do this bit at the end, but because we don't have no league fixtures, we have cup fixtures, so it is cup final weekend in North 1. It is probably, I've seen a lot of people saying they're the two best teams. Statistically, that is incorrect. Obviously, that's the Stars and the Barons, but I can see the point. The two best hockey teams going head to head in a final. Obviously, I've seen a lot of comments in regards to the game. It's going to be a great game. It should be a fantastic game. If I'm honest, I think the Stars or the Hawks won. They've met a few times in semi-finals and finals, and Hawks, I believe, have just edged those games. If I'm thinking right back, Stars' first season in Billingham, Stars won that against Blackburn. Then it went to Blackburn the season after, and then the 2 seasons the playoffs was in Solway. I think the Hawks got better of the Stars on both occasions, then moved to Sheffield, and I believe the Stars actually got one over on the Hawks that year quite convincingly to lose out to the Sharks in the playoff final. It was a great game. I think it was like 4-2, fantastic final. That was a good weekend, which I'm glad to see playoff weekend back in Sheffield. It's going to be a great day of hockey for both divisions. So yeah, a big weekend coming up for the Hawks and the Stars. The first piece of serious silverware. I have been messaged many a time and ridiculed for taking the piss out of the Northern Cup that the Warriors won, because it was just 2 teams in a cup. Not really Northern Cup champions, are you, if you're a 2-team cup, when the actual Northern Cup is the League Cup. And then the M56 Cup, which I've seen somewhere, terrible name. Call it the Northwest Cup and add the aces to it. You never know, it might become something quite special in years to come. The Hawks winning that. So yeah, it is a bit of silverware, and I suppose it is good for sponsors, it's good for fans. But this is the first piece of serious silverware of the season. I do put the Hawks as favourites, knowing what I do know at the moment. But we'll certainly see how it goes, because we know games aren't played on paper, they're played on the ice. And it's going to make for an interesting weekend of games. So yeah, let's just quickly run through the ladle of games. We have the Billingham Buccaneers, who are fighting for a home advantage playoff spot. Beat the Bradford Bulldogs 5-2. The team they're battling that position for, the Sheffield Titans, come out over the Altrincham Aces as 6-3 winners. Champions-elect Telford Tigers 2 beat the Lions 10-0. Bradford Bulldogs get a 6-0 victory over the Kingston Sharks. The Coventry Blaze lose out at home in a big result for the Sheffield Titans in their hunt for 4th place, and beating them 5-4. And the Buccaneers get a good road win versus the Lions 2 side 6-1. And then the big one on Sunday was first v second again, the Tigers 2 versus Sutton Sting. And the Tigers, the UAP Tigers, as I now like to call them, a lot of old guys on that team, 4-3 victors over the Sutton Sting, so which probably gives the big advantage to the Tigers in that one. There is actually some fixtures this weekend, which I didn't think there was going to be. Obviously, you've got the cup game, but it says here on Sunday, Lions 2 will play against the Coventry Blaze in league action. So that's probably going to be the only league action of the weekend. Although I did see somewhere Widnes are playing this weekend, so just hold me on that one, and I'll look into that one for you. But yeah, the Sting play the Telford Tigers in what will be a first v second cup final, so that'll certainly be interesting. Can Sting wrestle the cup away from the Telford Tigers, who are looking likely to win the league Can Sutton just edge it and nick the cup so they can share the silverware going into playoffs? So yeah, just the one league game amongst those cup games. And I'm just quickly searching now for the Widnes Wild, so just bear with me, because I'm sure I've seen something they were playing this weekend. Yes, the Widnes Wild are playing Sheffield this weekend, so there's a fixture that you could add into the Morley. Probably a big fixture for Sheffield, one that they'll probably have to win to catch the Widnes Wild. But yeah, that is down as the 25th, so it must be a game that they've had to rearrange for whatever reason. So we'll keep an eye for that for the next weekend. So moving into Ladler and the league table, as I mentioned, that the Tigers and the Sting played our top of the table clash. That's put a bit of distance between them at the top of the table. You've got the Buccaneers and the Titans scrapping for home advantage, because it probably will be them two teams who play each other in the playoffs. So we'll start at the top, obviously. Telford Tigers 2, top of the division, 27 games played, 26 wins, 1 loss for 52 points. In second place with a game in hand is the Sutton Sting with 21 wins, 4 losses and an overtime loss. Sees them 9 points behind the Tigers. Can't see Tigers dropping that many points. Third place is the Blaze, 27 games played, 18 wins, 8 losses, 37 points. Just 5 points behind now, although played a game more, is the Billingham Buccaneers, 28 games played, 15 wins, 11 losses for 32 points. What a fantastic season it has been for their first year, to be up there in the top 4 or 5, battling for a home advantage in the playoffs. Be a great lesson, especially for those younger players there that they've got playing for them, the likes of Sam Dowd, who's scoring plenty at that level. Lucas Dowdall's getting a lot of ice time. Ben Greenhouse spending a lot of time there when he's not playing for the Stars, and it's really paying dividends at both levels for these youngsters. Fifth place, the Sheffield Titans, 28 games played also, 14 wins, 12 losses and 2 overtime losses, to find themselves 2 points behind the Buccaneers. Could them 2 losses be the difference? Those 2 overtime losses be the difference of them not getting home advantage? Sixth place, the Bradford Bulldogs in 27th place, 22 points. Altrincham Aces, 26 games played, 22 points also. And then the league's other new team, the new boys, who will probably scrape that last playoff spot, the Kingston Sharks, with 27 games played, 4 wins, 22 losses, 1 overtime loss and 9 points. And then the basement dwellers, the Nottingham Lions, with just the 1 solitary win in their 26 games, 24 losses and an overtime loss for their 3 points. So what would happen if the playoffs started this weekend in the Ladler? Well, we'd get some great games, if I'm being quite honest. Tigers 2 would go up against Kingston Sharks. The Sutton Sting can go up against the Aces. Coventry Blaze will go up against the Bradford Bulldogs. And these two teams, no matter who comes where, I think there will be whoever gets home advantage, they'll still be playing each other. The Billingham Buccaneers versus the Sheffield Titans. So you look at them and you think, yeah, Telford will walk that against Kingston. But the other 2 fixtures in there, other than the Buccaneers and the Titans, who will play a very evenly matched game, the Sting and the Aces. The Aces can be plucky. They can do something in the playoffs. They can shock and surprise. And so can the Bradford Bulldogs against the Blaze. You can't take these teams for lightly, not when it comes to playoff hockey. You know the referees put the whistles away a little bit more. It comes a bit more about grit and determination, and a little bit less about the skill that you got in your team. Don't get me wrong, it plays a big part. But obviously, we know playoff hockey gets that little bit more physical. And as we know, the also Tigers and Sting play out cup final this weekend. Obviously more about those cup finals in next week's episode. I will be at both Blackburn Stars games. Thanks for listening again, guys. Obviously not a lot to talk about fixture wise this weekend, mainly on last weekend. So it might be just a bit of drivel this weekend, me rabbiting on, repeating myself. But yeah, any comments, any feedback, again, it is welcome. Whether it's on Twitter, also known as X or whatever, Facebook. I answer my emails and sticktothepod@gmail.com. But please like and share whatever platform if you're on Apple, please rate it 5 stars. It does help. Just gets it out there a bit more, so other fans can see it. Please tell your friends, share it with your friends, and get them to like and share. Same with the YouTube channel. The way all the algorithms work and stuff like that, I need you guys to like, subscribe, and just share everything. Share the channel, share the episodes. Like I say, this is just me talking shit every week about hockey because I love it. And if I can manage to give you guys some information at the same time on goal scorers, fixtures, forms, league tables, then that's great. But I would like it to be, I want the quality to improve, absolutely. And that'll happen with the more listeners it gets, the more episodes that I do, the better content I can get out there. Like I say, I am trying to find ways of making things better for you guys, the listeners, because you are creeping up, which I can only thank you from the bottom of my heart. I never thought I'd get the listeners that I'm getting at the moment, but it'd be great just to get you guys to like and share the pages and subscribe to the YouTube channel, just to get it a little bit more notice so more people can listen. And we can improve things down the lines. So I know there's not a lot of action this weekend. It's primarily cups across all divisions. So if you are near a venue that is showing a cup final, first or second leg this weekend, get yourself along. All games will be fantastic, whether it's South 1, South 2, North 1, North 2. They're all top teams in these cup finals, and they're all baying for that first silverware of the season. So wherever you are, enjoy your hockey. If you're travelling, safe travels, be careful. Any feedback, let me know. And I'll see you again next week. Thank you very much.